Good evening. It is time for today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. It is Monday, March 6th, the year of our Lord 2023. And, with March Madness coming up, I thought maybe we should talk about gambling and how gambling is treated by the IRS. That's what we're going to do tonight. Won't you join us? So here we are. Again, it's the March Madness. Gambling now, sports gambling and sports betting is all over the country. Here in Illinois, where it's everywhere. That's going to be at Wrigley Field. It's going to be the new at the new Chicago Bears facility in Arlington Heights. One of the reasons why they're going over there, so I'm told, is so they can have those rights to have the gambling on site. I don't think Soldier Field would allow them to do that. And there's just too much money to be made, I assume. And that's what's happening. So that's where we are. But so I thought, one thing I wanted to mention is, what does the IRS say about all this? And it's interesting. So let me see if I can do this. It's an interesting. I always like to talk about the 16th Amendment whenever I can, and so let's do that. Let's talk about the 16th Amendment. And the 16th Amendment is that amendment that made made taxes, same thing, made income taxes legal, because before that it was. The Supreme Court said it was not legal to have a tax, income tax, and so they needed an amendment to the Constitution, and they did that with the 16th Amendment, and so the 16th Amendment reads: the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes. Here's I was going to say favorite part, but maybe my least favorite part, but from whatever source derived, without the apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census of it or enumeration, because that's what was included in the original Constitution, right? The bigger states didn't want to pay more than the smaller states, so they thought, well, we're all in this together, right? We should all pay equally, and anything that we have to pay, you should have to pay too. And that changed, right? It did change with the Civil War. That Lincoln just did impose an income tax, but then it was overruled several years later, some years later, I think it was the 1880s, that Congress, the Supreme Court ruled that the income tax was not constitutional. And so there wasn't a income tax until this time in 1916, I believe, when the 16th Amendment, maybe it was 1913, the 16th Amendment was passed, that allowed Congress to lay and collect taxes. And so that's again, the big part of from whatever source derived. And what does that mean? Well, it's pretty all encompassing, isn't it? It means everything that you could or would get an income from. And sometimes that means canceled debt, and that means brokerage, that means crypto, and that means we did the story on Thursday. Last Thursday was the story on the treasure trove. So if you find something and it's valuable, you pay tax on it, whether you cash it in or not. So from whatever source derived. And so there's a good story here that I'm going to talk. Let's talk about this story about March Madness. So let's begin there. So here we are. As March Madness looms, so do sports betting taxes. As online sports betting rolls out in more states, people are encountering legalized gambling in new ways. But whether you're wagering on the March Madness from your couch or flying to Las Vegas for a weekend at the tables, you'll have to pay tax on the winnings. The IRS has clear-cut rules on gambling income that predate the recent explosion of the sports betting industry. In short, the proceeds from a successful wager are taxable income, just like your paycheck or investment gains. While you can write off some gambling losses if you itemize, that deduction can't exceed the amount of your winnings. The U.S. tax code is very broad in how it defines what is taxable. This is why I just read you the 16th Amendment. Everything that you earn is taxable unless it is otherwise said not to be, without an exception, right? Without an exception, everything is taxable. Here are some of the tax considerations to keep in mind if you're lucky enough to be in the black. Actually, here in Illinois, you don't have to be in the black to have to pay taxes, right? In Illinois, you don't get to deduct your losses. You are taxed on all of your gains, and there's a specific reason why that is, but I'm not going to go into it here. But it's true that no matter what those gains are, you pay taxes on it, irrespective of what the losses are. So I've had clients who've made hundreds of thousands of dollars winnings, but they lost more than they ever won. But because they were such a prolific gambler, they paid a heavy tax on those winnings, even though in the end they lost. And that's just the way it works. So what is it? Form W-2G? That's a W-2. Everybody knows what a W-2 is, but not a W-2G. Gambling establishments, including digital operations such as online sportsbooks, usually provide you with an IRS and the IRS with a record of your taxable winnings. The statement is known as a W-2G, and it includes an overall overview of your gambling winnings, along with any withholding you elected when you gave the establishment your tax information. In order to win, before they pay you, they need your Social Security number. Gambling businesses are required to report payouts that are made that meet certain thresholds. According to the IRS, you'll likely receive one or more W-2Gs if you won $1,200 or more bingo or slots, netted $1,500 or more in Keno, exceeded $5,000 in winning from a poker tournament, obtained $600 or more in another gambling endeavor, such as sports betting, and the payout was at least 300 times the amount you put in on the line. Are your gambling winnings taxable? It's worth noting that these requirements don't cover every potential situation in which you might win a bet. For instance, your winning might be below these thresholds, but be mindful that you're supposed to pay taxes on anything you win from whatever source derived. So if you get a W-2G, you can be sure the IRS knows about whatever the casino or sports books have listed there. Similarly, the coworker who organized your office March Madness bracket pool is unlikely to send you and the IRS records of your participation. If you win, though, it's still technically income. But she adds, it's between you and your priest how you handle it from there. Is she encouraging lying? I don't know. You shouldn't encourage that. All taxes, you should all pay taxes on whatever income. You can deduct gambling losses, but there are some significant challenges. For starters, you can't deduct more than the amount you took home in the gaming revenue. If you're in the red for the year, don't expect to recoup those losses with tax deductions. In addition, you won't be able to write off gambling losses unless you itemize your deductions. However, many people do not itemize, instead choosing to take the standard deduction, which knocks a set amount off your taxable income without you having to do anything. For 2022 tax returns, which are due this year, the standard deduction is $25,900 for married couples filing jointly. If your gambling losses combined with all your other deductions don't reach at least this number, you might not want to write off those bad debts. Another consideration, if you're a professional gambler who makes a good chunk of your living from placing bets, you may have more freedom to deduct your losses. This, however, requires a whole other tax approach that may not make sense for casual gamblers. And it's not that easy to become a professional gambler in the eyes of the IRS. So if you think you can just say, I'm a professional gambler, and then deduct all your trips to Las Vegas, don't count on it. Do you need any other documents? Another factor to consider when writing off gambling losses is that while a casino or sportsbook might send you record of your gains, they're unlikely to break down what you lost. They may not even know. You'll need to keep your own records for these purposes, the IRS says. To deduct your losses, you must keep an accurate diary or a similar record of your gambling, generally what they call contemporaneous winnings and losses, and be able to provide receipts, tickets, statements, and other records that show the amount of both your winnings and your losses. How do states treat gambling? If you have gambling winnings, it's worthwhile to understand the tax considerations in the state where you live and where you gambled. While Walker says that while you're most likely to have to settle with your home state, tax rates and reporting requirements vary widely across the United States, as I just mentioned here in Illinois. Even FanDuel, one of the country's leading online sports betting platforms, doesn't hazard a guess about how states will handle gambling proceeds. It depends on the states, FanDuel says on its website, adding that it might have to submit tax information to one or more state taxing authorities, even if you legally live in another state. And that's just the way it works, right? So you're going to pay taxes on it. They're going to get their tax returns. I have this. Let me see if I can do this. I have this video from the IRS. They pay for these videos, so I thought maybe we should play it just to see where your tax dollars go. So let's do that. Let's play this.
Hi, I'm Thomas, and I work for the IRS. If you gamble, you need to know that gambling winnings are generally taxable and must be reported on your tax return. If you itemize your deductions on Schedule A, then you may also claim your gambling losses and other gambling activity expenses, such as travel back and forth from a casino or track. But you may only claim these items up to the amount of winnings shown on your tax return. It's a good idea to keep a diary or daily log to show your wins and losses. If you are going to claim your losses and other expenses, then you must keep all related receipts, tickets, and statements. Examples of gambling income are winnings from lotteries, raffles, horse races, dog races, and casinos. The fair market value of non-cash prizes like cars, houses, and trips is also taxable. Depending on the game and the amount of your winnings, the casino or other payer may withhold taxes from your payment and give you a Form W-2G. This form shows your winnings and the amount of taxes withheld. Remember, you need to report all gambling winnings whether or not you receive a W-2G. In many cases, you may also need to make quarterly estimated tax payments. To get more information, go to irs.gov.
I thought we should know where our tax dollars go, and that's one places where it goes. So just what happens. So Las Vegas casinos, gamblers may get a surprise IRS jackpot. Now this case, do we have the time? Where are we? We at 14 minutes. Congress may. This is an interesting. There is some legislation in Congress to try to change the level. So Congress may change an outdated rule that would set a higher threshold for what slot winnings need to be reported to the IRS. Every casino player lucky enough to hit a slot machine jackpot knows the downside of any win $1,200 or more. When that happens, after the initial excitement has faded, you quickly realize that your machine freezes and won't pay out. Instead, a warning pops up to wait for an attendant. The waiting for the attendant can be a problem, as even at major casinos owned by Caesars, Get Free Report and MGM Reports International, sorry about that. There seems to be no connection between the machine telling you need an attendant and one actually coming. Some machines have buttons you can press that turn on a light that's supposed to signal an attendant to come see you, but that's hardly a perfect system. The machine locks and won't print out your winnings because any winnings $1,200 or more has to be recorded by the casino and reported to the Internal Revenue Service. So in the perfect world, you hit your jackpot and someone comes over promptly to collect your identification in order to fill out an IRS form W-2G. Actually, you don't fill out that. They get a W-9. But anyway, report the winning to the government. Once you have been handed that form, your machine is unlocked and you either get paid out right there, which is why these are generally known as hand pays, or you print out a voucher. It's a clumsy system that has been in place since 1977, a time when $1,200 was a lot of money. That is not now, which has not changed once since it was introduced. Last year, the Nevada Democrat introduced shifting limits on thresholds Act, slot, get it? In the U.S. House of Representatives. And despite its clever name and bipartisan support, the act did not move forward. While she failed during the last session of Congress, she plans to try again, according to the report. There was a time when we were trying to get the Treasury Department to do this through regulation, but they never moved. So we're going to try to push legislation instead. Her new proposal is similar to the Slot Act. She wants the IRS reporting threshold moved to $5,000 and indexed to inflation. When she first proposed the Slot Act, which was not voted on in the last session of Congress, she released a statement explaining her actions. Due to inflation, the number of jackpots hitting that threshold, triggering the shutdown of the machine and necessitating excess paperwork requirements for the patron, has increased dramatically. This creates an unnecessary burden on the gaming industry, an economic driver for southern Nevada and other communities nationwide where slot machines exist. I don't know where it is, but I know here in Illinois it's big now. While I believe appropriate taxes should be collected on winnings, raising that threshold would reduce paperwork and ensure that it is accompanied by more efficiency. The last thing Caesars, MGM, or any other casino wants is a player to hit a jackpot and then have to sit around slowly getting angry. Ideally, at least for the casino, when someone wins a large amount, they can immediately go back to playing and perhaps lose some of their winnings back or all of it, right? Her act, which she believes will have bipartisan support from states with legalized slot machine gambling, simply removes the pain point. Casinos won't have to devote labor to the tedious process of gamblers won't have to figure out how to get their attendant to pay attention to them when they can't walk away from their machine. And while this seems like logical change for Congress to make, gaming industry expert told the paper he does not expect it to pass. The challenge that we are going to face is that you have a dysfunctional legislative body that won't see this as a bipartisan issue. It's time to update the system and up the threshold on payable winnings. This should be a no-brainer. But in an age where we live by continuing resolutions, this gets lost in the shuffle. Well, we shouldn't live in an age of continuing resolution. That's part of our problem. And let's hope that that's a thing of the past. But we all know it's not. So anyway, that's where we are today. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me today. I thought it was a good time to put that in. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. We need your help to get this information out to people. And so please help us. So like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we come out with a new video. Generally Monday through Thursday, I try to publish or stream one every night, Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Thursday, I should say. And remember, if you are fighting the IRS, if you have tax problems, if you don't know what to do, go to freeirsbook.com. That's freeirsbook.com. Get your free copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. I will pay for the publishing. I will ask you to pay for the shipping and handling. Again, it's under $10. So go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. Get your free copy. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We shall return tomorrow with Crypto Tuesday. I hope you can join us. In the meantime, let me make sure I have the right one because I messed that up last time. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow for Crypto Tuesday. God bless you, and we are now out.